welcome back to Room 237, and it's time for another Christmas-themed horror film. So last year I did the 1997 Killer Snowman film with Jack Frost. And in the title I put Rant ... Because as bad as that movie is, I didn't really know if I could rant on it. I mean, can you really rant on a film that knows it's bad, knows it's terrible, but is having fun with itself? I think this will be that film of this year. And this is a film I've heard the title of, but I've never actually seen. And actually, when I made my list for Christmas movies to do this year, this wasn't on there. And I know I had way less than last year, so I went on YouTube to see what Christmas-themed horror films was on there, and I came across this. And I thought, what the hell, why not? And it's 2005's Santa's Slay. Yes, Slay, S-L-A-Y, starring Goldberg himself, the wrestler. So yes, this is not one that I saw back when it first came out in 2005, but this movie has 2005 all over it. It really does. It was directed by David Steinman and actually produced by Brett Ratner, which, say what you will about Brett Ratner, I know he's a pretty awful person, but he's produced and directed some pretty damn good films. I mean, he produced The Revenant, which is definitely, I give more credit to the director of that film. That's a beautifully shot film. But he did direct Red Dragon, which, as far as prequels go, I really do like Red Dragon. So directed by David Steinman, written by Steinman, and before I get to the cast, it was put up by VIP Median Fonz 1 and distributed by Media 8 Entertainment. And it was released on December 20th, 2005, my 14th birthday. Yeah, happy birthday to me. Now, and it's a production company I'm not familiar with, but it is extremely low budget. It doesn't even say what the budget is on this, but there's very low production quality, very poor acting, CGI effects that probably comes with whatever computer or movie making app or program that you can get. I mean, like the explosions and the fire effects in this. The cast is stunning, to say the least. Of course, we have Goldberg as a sort of Nordic kind of Santa, with his Goldberg Freddy voice spewing a bunch of Christmas-themed one-liners and puns. Robert Culp, who I recognize him before, probably from Everybody Loves Raymond, but he goes all the way back to the 50s with his filmography. Lots of television, Outer Limits, lots of comedy. Okay, so no real movies that I've seen, but he's done a lot of television. This was one of his last roles. He was in the video game Half-Life 2, Robot Chicken, and 2010's The Assignment. That's what he did after this. Now, the opening scene with its cameos. Oh, it also has Emily DeRaven, who was the younger daughter in the Hills Have Eyes remake. Douglas Smith is our lead. Percy Jackson, Terminator Genesis. He kind of looks like the male lead in the Elm Street remake. Sort of like the super tired, bags under the eyes, kind of. He looks like him. Nothing else I've seen him in. He was in the Stage Fright remake. Ouija, that's what he was in. Okay. He was the lead in Bye Bye Man. Okay. Both of those I've reviewed. And as bad as this movie is, I would put... I'd put this over Ouija and Bye Bye Man. But the opening scene, the cameos, are mind-boggling. Because we have Fran Drescher, Chris Kattan, I think 2 other actresses who I didn't recognize, and James Caan. So take the first 2 people I said, Fran Drescher and Chris Kattan, and Sonny Corleone from Godfather, and Paul Sheldon from Misery, on top of other really good films from the 70s. Was he in the original Gambler? I believe he was. I believe he was in The Gambler. He's 80 years old. Wow. Godfather, Gambler. Yes, he was in the original Gambler. Lots of good films. I know he's been in other comedies. Also, Dick Tracy. Another movie with Pacino. I don't know. Maybe when he did Elf, he got really in the Christmas spirit and did this. But James Caan, Fran Drescher, and Chris Kattan, and they're just this dysfunctional family. Fran Drescher is touching Chris Kattan under the table. But she's James Caan's wife. Then he threatens Chris Kattan. And then Goldberg, as Santa, comes through the chimney and kills them all. In pretty festive ways. I mean, he takes a swig of, I think it's vodka, blows on, I think it was a candle, sets Fran Drescher's hair on fire, and some of the worst CGI flames I've seen. And then next time we see her, it's like a wet bald cap with strings of hair. He drowns her in eggnog. He takes the star off a tree, throws it like a ninja star into this other actress. I don't know what happened to the other actress. Chris Kattan gets, like, kicked into a cabinet. James Caan gets a fork and knife into his hands on the table. And then he gets the turkey leg shoved way down into his mouth, head bashed on the table. And then we get the credits. So just those cameos, that really sets the tone for what kind of film this is. And yeah, it's like a dark comedy slasher. It's a lot... I'll say Jack Frost was darker than this. I mean, even that had a bunch of puns from The Killer, but the tone of that film and even the look was a lot darker. This is, I don't even think tongue-in-cheek. It's definitely out in the open comedy. I don't even know how to explain, like, the production. I mean, even the sets look very cheap. I mean, our 2 leads, who is it? Emily DeRaven and Douglas Smith. They work at this deli, and I mean, it looks it almost looks like the rec center from Power Rangers. Like, it looks like a TV, like a children's TV set. But through the opening credits, we get sort of like this storybook credits. It's all sort of Nordic, I believe it is, writing. But if you look carefully, you'll see the cast member's name in the writing, with the cast member's name as it appears. And we get this history of Santa all the way from before 1005, year 1005, all the way up to 2005. And then we get introduced to our main characters, Douglas Smith and Emily DeRaven, who plays Nicholas Yulson and Mary Mackenzie, which he calls her Mac. We get, and the deli worker is Jewish. And it's set up that Nick's grandfather is like the town loony, which they live in the town called Hell Township. So they live in hell. And even the title of the movie, it starts off Satan's, but then when sleigh hits it, it spins around, spells out Santa. Okay. So it's Christmas Eve. Mac drops Nicholas off at his house. He lives with his crazy grandfather, played by Robert Culp. He's down in his basement, and he's kind of not quite Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future, but he's like an inventor. Like, he has this nutcracker that shoots roasted chestnuts. He's very, very into Christmas, doesn't like the Lord's name taken in vain. And the thing about this movie, the editing is so strange, because mid-conversation will cut to Goldberg at just killing someone as Santa. Mid-conversation. And then we'll go back to it. They won't even be talking about Santa or kills or deaths or anything. Sometimes it'll be like, you know, something really weird's going on here, and then it will cut. But the first scene with them at the deli, there's this very elderly lady who's being very difficult. And this is the kind of humor the movie has. Like, she gives the kid shit. The owner comes up, gives her sandwich. And he says, "Happy holidays." And she's like, "Don't give me that PC crap. It's Christmas. Wish me a Merry Christmas." So he does, and she's like, "Thank you, and go fuck yourself." That's the kind of humor. And he gives the kids their presents. She gets a snow globe. He gets this one clock where it has all the different time zones. That comes in later. And then we see Santa on the road while we see the old lady. She's smoking a cigarette, driving really slow and swerving on this back road. Santa comes in, and I guess the Santa he's playing, the Nordic or European Santa, has like this buffalo yak type reindeer, and just one. He's on the road for whatever reason behind her, and he even yells like, "Move, bitch! Get out of the way!" So yeah, everything he says is a pun or a reference. There were two that got a chuckle out of me. That wasn't one of them. But they're much later in the film. And he comes to Hell Township, because you find out he is hunting Nicholas and his grandfather. Which, and even while we see like Nicholas and his grandfather, and then Mac comes over, we get the idea they're together. Santa stops by this strip club and kills everyone in the strip club. The strippers, the patrons. A lot of, like, 90s Steven Seagal type stunts. Like, like jumping up and slide across the table, gets across, lifts the table up, and then to like block something, then like runs. I don't know, just a lot of, I call them like Rube Goldberg stunts as far as like action goes. And then we see the church sermon that's like a funeral for the massacre at the strip club. The pastor's played by Dave Thomas from SCTV, Strange Brew. So we get crazy cast. And then we see the deli worker, their boss. He gets killed by Santa. Santa comes in, picks him up, stabs him with his own menorah. And then at one point, Grandpa gives Nick the history of Christmas. He has this big storybook, I guess the one from the credits. And he tells him the story of Santa, which is done in the style, and I thought this was kind of clever. Again, very low budget, but a stop motion animation sequence done kind of like more like, not like Tim Burton, but more like a Rankin Bass Christmas special. And the sort of Book of Claus, Santa was the result of a virgin birth produced by Satan, the antithesis to Jesus, making him some sort of antichrist. Christmas was the day of slaying for Santa until 1005 AD, where this angel challenged him to a curling match on ice. And it was whoever could get their rock closest to this ice fishing hole without going in. Santa went and got it as close as possible without falling in. The angel goes, knocks Santa's rock in, thus leaving angels the closest. And he by losing, Santa was sentenced to spread cheer and joy, give presents on Christmas Day for the next 1,000 years. So now 2005, it's the last Christmas. He's going to start, spreading holiday fear, which he even says at one point. And so he's killing all these people, trying to get to the kid and the grandpa. And, at one point, and of course, Nicholas comes across the deli, sees his dead boss, talks to the police. Of course, he tries to say it's Santa. I don't think he's seen Santa yet, but of course they think he's crazy. Mac picks him up, and from that point to the end of the movie, they're chased by Santa. Chased on the road, chases them to their house. Grandpa wants to help them. They're going to get on these snowmobiles. She can't start hers. Santa's coming. Grandpa's standing there, and his buffalo yak reindeer runs him over. Of course, Grandpa got run over by a reindeer. Chases them to the school. They do a lot of hiding, trying to fight back. And this was one joke that kind of made me laugh. Because as a literature buff and, lover of books, they end up at the high school and they're hiding from room to room. They end up in the library. And of course, there's all these puns, like he walks in and he's like, not a creature was stirring. Then he picks up A Christmas Carol and he says, Christmas can scare the dickens out of anybody. I was like, alright, that's kind of a good one. And then they end up at the hockey rink, and that's where they have sort of one of their final confrontations. And this was the other joke I thought was funny. He's on a oh god, what the hell do you call those things? Zamboni. He's on a Zamboni on the ice rink. Nicholas takes his flashlight, flashes it in his face, and he's like, "I'm Santa Claus, not fucking Dracula." I was like, all right, that kind of got me too. So, and that clock that he got from his boss, he realizes that the final time zone is at the North Pole. So something about like when it's 4 or 7 o'clock here, it will be Christmas there, thus meaning Christmas will finally end at that time. And then Santa will become powerless and mortal. So they end up on the hockey rink. And actually, there was another funny scene because Santa, spewing out all these Freddy one-liners, Christmas themed, he does go on this one spiel about how, like, it's not actually the final time zone. It's when all the time zones actually converge, and goes on to this very textbook explanation. Kind of reminded me of, like, Alice Cooper's bit on Wayne's World, just given this very educational kind of spiel. Then Emily DeRaven says, like, he's terrifying but educational. And then Grandpa reappears as an angel. We find out he's the Archangel from the story. Challenges him to another curling match. Only this time, the hole in the ice isn't fishing, it's a hellhole. And then this scene happens so fast. I guess they win again. And Nicholas has that nutcracker that his grandfather gave him that shoots roasted chestnuts. Shoots Santa, hits him in the chest. He sees that he's wounded. He flees on his sleigh. And then Mac and Nicholas go outside. There's all these hunters outside. And Mac's dad shoots his reindeer buffalo down with a bazooka. Oh, and then we finally see what happens to the pastor, because throughout the movie, we see that the pastor is in the sleigh with Santa. And every time he wakes up, he just keeps knocking him out. Only now he's on, like, the school flagpole, like, through the stomach, all the way down to the ground. And he's dressed like Santa. And he actually gets blamed for the murders. Because, because he was in the sleigh, so when they shot down the reindeer, he fell out of it under the flagpole. So he gets fingered for the murders. And then it ends with Santa sort of dressed like a biker. He's got like a ponytail, black vest, boarding a flight in Winnipeg to the North Pole. And then the credits. And then there's like a post-credit scene with Santa looking at the camera saying, "Who's next?" Which I guess was Goldberg's. I remember when Goldberg was a wrestler, but I didn't really watch it on TV. I just collected the cards and the toys when I was a kid. And, I mean, it's a short film, and that's the end of the movie. It's really short. I mean, it's 78 minutes. It's a movie that has fun with itself. It doesn't take itself seriously one bit. It knows it has really cheap effects, dumb jokes, a dumb premise, but it is able to laugh at itself. And surprisingly, this movie got somewhat mixed reviews when it came out. I know one of the more negative reviews was like Dread Central. But some people saw the fun in it when it first came out, and it's since become more of like a cult classic. It's nothing I'd really want to watch again. I mean, I guess I could see and appreciate the fun in it, watching it. It's not a Christmas favorite of mine. It's not going to be a tradition film for me. But, you know, it was a new spin on the killer Santa kind of film, I guess. But yeah, I like Jack Frost. I find it kind of hard to rant on a movie that's fully self-aware. I mean, like the lead kid on this, he was in both Ouija and The Bye-Bye Man, movies that took itself seriously and thought it was a good horror movie. Here, it knows it's a dumb, silly film, so, I mean, why tear it apart? But, yes, the acting, for the most part, is bad. The humor is very cheesy. I think it's even purposely cheesy. It was funny to see someone like Goldberg playing Santa. I like the idea it was a Nordic Santa, or more like a traditional Santa, I guess. The effects were terrible, like Fran Drescher with the hair on fire, like that was absolutely terrible looking. The only bits of real cleverness, I guess, would be like the Rankin Bass stop motion for the history of Santa. But also 78 minutes, can't really, very short. So why, you know, not like it was a huge waste of time. And actually, one thing I don't normally think about was it actually was kind of fun and humorous describing everything in it. So, yeah, I don't know if I'll put this as a rant. I don't really know. But, yeah, Santa's Sleigh, I guess I can see why it's a cult film. I mean, hell, even Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 is a cult film. This is almost in the same realm as that, as far as a knowingly bad movie, so bad it's good. Definitely has more humor in it, like on purpose humor. But yeah, it's nothing I'm gonna watch every Christmas. Saw it once, enough to review it, and that's enough. But so yeah, Santa's Sleigh 2005, very stupid, very dumb, but it's self-aware enough that it kind of laughs along with you at itself. Not its own humor, but its own self. And it's short enough that it's not a huge waste of time. It's free on YouTube if anyone's curious and wants to check it out. But yeah, let that first opening scene with Fran Drescher and Chris Kattan really set the tone for the entire film. But anyway, that's Santa's Sleigh 2005. Thank you for watching.